Whenever we imagine the legendary arenas of the ancient Roman Empire, we picture towering warriors with incredibly chiseled muscles and zero body fat. Hollywood cinema and modern popular culture have firmly trained us to believe that gladiators were the ultimate ancient alpha males who survived exclusively on a massive diet of raw meat and pure protein. Therefore, we naturally assume that building the deadliest fighters in human history required massive amounts of animal muscle. But modern archaeological science has just completely shattered this famous cinematic illusion. Recently, researchers excavated a massive ancient gladiator graveyard in the historical city of Ephesus. They brought the skeletal remains of these legendary fighters into high-tech laboratories to perform advanced isotopic analysis. What they discovered inside the bones of these ancient killers completely shocked the scientific community and forced historians to rewrite everything we know about ancient combat. These extremely violent and dangerous men were not consuming heavy meat diets at all. The chemical signatures left inside their skeletons proved beyond any doubt that the most feared warriors of the ancient world were actually surviving on an almost entirely plant-based diet. They were essentially fat, ancient vegans. This incredibly radical dietary choice was not a tragic accident of poverty or a punishment for being slaves. It was actually a highly calculated and brilliant piece of ancient sports science designed to keep them alive. To truly understand how this surprising plant-based system worked, we have to look incredibly closely at the microscopic chemical evidence left behind in the dirt of Ephesus. When scientists analyzed the specific ratios of carbon and nitrogen isotopes preserved inside the ancient bones, they found extremely low nitrogen levels across the entire gladiator population. This specific chemical signature is an absolute biological guarantee that these men were consuming vast amounts of legumes, like beans and lentils, rather than eating animal meat or seafood. Therefore, the scientific data perfectly confirmed the strange rumors written down by ancient Roman doctors and historians. Famous ancient medical experts like Galen, who actually worked as a dedicated gladiator physician for many years, wrote detailed accounts of their daily lives. The historical texts specifically called these fighters the barley men, because their absolute primary source of physical fuel was massive, steaming bowls of cheap boiled barley and thick bean porridge. We often think of modern elite athletes carefully counting their calories to maintain perfect, lean physiques, but the Roman trainers were actively stuffing their expensive fighters with endless amounts of heavy, simple carbohydrates. They were deliberately forcing them to consume massive quantities of grains until their bodies became completely soft and bulky. The entire goal of this extreme feeding program was to radically alter the physical composition of the gladiator, changing him from a lean, hungry captive into a highly specialized weapon of mass entertainment. At first glance, this extreme high-carbohydrate diet seems completely counterproductive for a professional fighter who relies on speed and lethal agility to survive. We naturally assume that carrying around extra body weight would immediately slow a warrior down and turn him into an easy target for a faster opponent. But we must remember that gladiators were not just expendable prisoners thrown to the lions for a quick execution. They were incredibly valuable athletic assets that required years of expensive training, housing, and medical care. The wealthy Roman businessmen who owned these fighting schools absolutely refused to let their massive financial investments die quickly from a lucky, random strike in the arena. Therefore, the trainers utilized the heavy barley and bean diet to intentionally build a very thick layer of subcutaneous fat across the entire body of the fighter. This specific type of soft fat sits just below the skin, acting as a highly effective biological shock absorber. When a heavy sword or a sharp spear slashed across the chest of a fat gladiator, the weapon would easily slice open the skin and sink into the thick, fatty tissue. But the dense layer of fat physically stopped the sharp blade from reaching the vital internal organs or slicing through the delicate internal blood vessels and massive nerve clusters. The diet literally built a permanent fleshy shield around the most vulnerable parts of the human body.
This biological armor served an absolutely brilliant dual purpose inside the brutal economy of the Roman Games. The massive crowd sitting in the Colosseum demanded high-stakes violence and extreme visual gore. They wanted to see real blood violently splashing across the white sand. Therefore, the thick layer of fat allowed the fighters to endure incredibly deep, terrifying superficial cuts that bled profusely and looked absolutely horrific to the cheering audience. The dramatic visual spectacle was completely satisfied, and the crowd believed they were witnessing a savage massacre. But beneath the bloody surface, the gladiator was actually perfectly safe from instant death. If a modern Hollywood actor with 0% body fat stepped into that exact same arena, a single shallow slash across the abdomen would instantly sever his vital arteries and end his life in seconds. The lean, muscular physique that we idolize today would have been an absolute death sentence in the ancient Roman fighting pits. The trainers perfectly understood that a soft, bulky fighter could take significantly more punishment, bleed heavily for the entertainment of the emperor, and still survive to fight another day. Therefore, the supposedly terrible and cheap vegetarian diet was actually a highly sophisticated mechanism for maximizing profit and guaranteeing the long-term survival of the most expensive athletes in the entire empire. They hacked the human metabolism to create the ultimate, durable warrior. But the brilliant sports science of the ancient Roman arena did not simply stop at manipulating body fat. The intensive chemical analysis of the Ephesian skeletons revealed another, deeply shocking biological anomaly that baffled researchers. The bones of the gladiators contained incredibly high levels of strontium and calcium compared to the normal average citizens living in the exact same city. At first, scientists could not understand how these plant-eating fighters possessed such incredibly dense and highly mineralized skeletal structures. But historical texts once again provided the astonishing answer. After surviving brutal training sessions and exhausting bloody battles, the gladiators were given a special medicinal recovery drink. They literally consumed a thick, dark tonic made from completely burnt plant ash and bone dust dissolved in liquid. Therefore, thousands of years before the modern invention of heavily engineered sports drinks and expensive mineral supplements, the Romans had already perfected the ultimate biological recovery formula. The gross-tasting ash tonic flooded their damaged bodies with massive amounts of raw calcium, rapidly healing microscopic bone fractures and completely hardening their skeletal frames against crushing blunt force trauma. We arrogant, modern humans like to believe that advanced sports nutrition was invented in a clean, sterile laboratory during the 20th century. But the violent, dusty arenas of the Roman Empire prove otherwise. The deadliest and most terrifying fighters in human history were built entirely by eating simple plants and drinking burnt ashes.